It's that time of the show now, which we call Not the Front Page News. And this is where we look at stories that should be making your front pages. All right, so what we're tracking for you today is a story that's coming out of the Western Cape. Many of us know the V&A Waterfront to be a site where there's a lot of activity that typically takes place. However, because of the lockdown regulations, we've seen a lot of that change quite significantly. And joining us now for a sense of what the possible ramifications are for that is the V&A's Waterfront spokesperson, Donald Gao, who, of course, has been keeping a close eye on this. So, Donald, thanks very much for your time. Welcome to the AM report. I mean, like I said, the V&A, whether it's peak time or any other time of the year, is one place in the country where you are bound to find a lot of people moving around. But things have looked very different over the past few weeks. How different are they exactly?
Thank you very much for having me. So, rightly as you said earlier, it's almost sort of a ghost town at this point in time. The V&A receives around 24, 25 million visitors annually. On a daily basis, you have 22,000 people who come to work at the V&A, and they are sort of servicing the 800 tenants that are there, the retail stores, the hotels, the residential, as well as the attractions. In the time and duration of the lockdown, we've seen at the height of the lockdown itself a 90% drop in visitors, and this has gone on to affect close to sort of most of all the retail trade that is there, except those stores that are providing essential items that people can come in and buy. So initially, at the start of the lockdown, you had places like Woolworths, you had Clicks, Pick n Pay as the only stores that were operating. We are now back to 100 stores trading at level 4.
Yeah, and we understand, of course, that the V&A, with companies such as British America Tobacco, Allen Gray, Nedbank, all housed there, it ended up contributing about 1.6% of the Western Cape's economy. I mean, have we been able yet to quantify how this change might even affect that?
At this point, we are looking at losing about 25% of the annual trade that we do in the business.
Mm. And a big part of that is also because the V&A is, I guess, a great site for a lot of tourists, and that's why it's been hit particularly hard. Give us an idea of what trading is taking place, because as I think you rightly mentioned, there is some activity, albeit not as much as we used to, obviously.
What happened was, of course, when the lockdown was announced, and one of the first areas that was impacted was the cruise ship business. The travel restrictions kicked in, the stops to cruise operations kicked in immediately. The V&A trades with and receives about 35% of its visitors from international tourism. The rest, in fact, comes from the rest of the country, and 50% of our visitors come from Cape Townians coming through. So it was a really a drastic change in how the business operates. We've had to shut down our hotels, and in fact, they are mothballed. International tourism is only being seen to be possibly returning towards the end of the year. Local travel will take its time to kind of rebound. So that was one particular area. Within the corporate offices space, obviously all of the tenants would have instituted work from home opportunities for all of their staff. So how trading happens at the V&A is that, in fact, a lot of it comes from the foot traffic that is already within the V&A if you're a restaurant or a store. And with all of that movement removed, all the traffic that we are getting in is from the immediate surroundings, people who live in the Greenpoint, Seapoint area walking in. And at this point, it's about 8,000 people sort of coming in daily to do their shopping for essentials, as I indicated. So it's been quite drastic for us.
Yeah, and of course the big concern is behind all of this are lives and livelihoods. Many people will, as we expect, affected by this. Do you have an idea of how many people's jobs might be at risk and how possible it may be to save some of those jobs at this stage?
We're doing our best to support all of our tenants. Our recovery planning looks at making sure that we can do as much as possible to make sure that our tenants are able to get back to business. So, there's been opportunities for us to look at the different sectors that make up the V&A Waterfront. We've gone into providing, as we engage with them, payment holiday options. We've got reduced rentals. And we're treating each and one of the cases on a case-by-case basis. But it is quite key for us that we are able to help all of our tenants get back onto trading as soon as possible. And then you have opportunities where you have people like our small SME traders, if you come to the food market or the arts and crafts. And those are quite small outfits, 1 or 2 business owners operating a space. You can give rent relief to those guys. You have performers that are on the property, buskers, that receive money from passing visitors. We've created a fund so that we can ensure that their livelihood is sustained over the period. So it's quite an extensive relief program that we have in place. We are engaging. It's a collaborative effort, and we are taking a long-term view of being able to return to trade fully. It's not going to happen overnight. We just kind of have to stick it out, but work with them to make sure that they're able to return to business.
Absolutely, and one can only hope that that does happen as speedily as is possible. But thanks very much for your time. Certainly appreciate it. Donald Gao speaks for the V&A Waterfront, telling us there that about 90% of some of the activity that has traditionally been around has virtually vanished over the lockdown period.